Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I'm your host, JC Granger, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Tim Hunt, who is the co founder and CEO of Addavox. Tim, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what does Addavox do?
Thanks, JC, and I appreciate being here. To me, well, Addavox itself basically is about localizing movies and videos, whether that's videos like this or anything else, and putting it into another language. But we use a lot of AI to help with that. My background, I grew up. I've been in the language industry for a lot of years. Founded a company years ago called Lingotech, where I built translation technology for document translation. Now I've moved into video. Sold that company back in 2008 and stuff, and so just been working on other stuff. But AI's come a long ways, and we can do a lot more than we could before. So, but our tool basically doesn't do everything automatic. I can do that if I wanted to, but I don't because AI is not good enough. Uh,
Hmm.
so it's AI that works with a human linguist and helps them get the job done. Uh,
So, yeah, what does that like look like walking through it? Like, if I'm using the software, why am I using it? Like, what are some of those common use cases? And then, what are my steps to like get it from beginning to end?
Yeah. So yeah, to sign up and it's free. There's no cost for the software. It's served over the web. It's at addavox.com and you just go up and sign up. Once you get in there, you just have to hit a new project, load up the video, and then a whole bunch of things happen automatically. We go in and we use AI to first, well, we first extract the audio from the video. Then we have an AI that separates the background and music from the vocal track and creates a separate track for that. And we have to do that because we want to put a new vocal over top of it and we want to maintain all the original audio in the background as well. So, and there's kind of, to me, there's like two kinds of AIs. Those that kind of do what people do, and then there's this AIs that do what people can't do. That's an AI that people can't do. So we have the AI do it. So it then creates it basically takes that audio track, that's the vocal track, and sends it through an AI transcription, and it comes back all done and ready to go. And so when all those steps are done, we also do face detection and it's called speaker diarization, where we identify every speaker in it by their voice. And then we find their faces and we create a little avatar in the top of our video screen and that has their voice and it doesn't have their name, it's just speaker one through whatever, but you can just click on it and change it to the right names. And once we have all that in place, then you review the transcription to see that the source is correct. And at that point, if all you wanted was because we have several outputs. If you just wanted a closed caption video, you could just produce it right there. That's all totally free. Everything up to translated subtitles is totally free in our application.
Yeah, I've seen these. I'll be doom scrolling through Instagram, of course, and I'll see these little ads that show like a person talking, and then it has a split screen, and it says, "Oh, do you want to hear it in French?" And it's like, and it matches their lips better. So, for example, like, all right, have you seen Squid Games on Netflix?
Actually, haven't. No, sorry.
Okay, so if you watch it, right, it's one of the most popular shows ever on Netflix. If you start watching it, I would recommend watching subtitles, right, instead of the dubbed version, because I think it would drive you in particular completely bonkers to watch it. Because South Korean and English, just phonetically in the way in these words, don't have almost any overlap whatsoever. So the dubbed version with English over it is so bad
Yeah.
that it takes away from the show completely. So I was like, don't watch the dubbed version. What's funny is like someone like you might go crazy watching it because you're like, oh my gosh, if they had just used this technology, right? So because it sounds like it takes in the video, right, and it rips it all apart, tra- translates it, and then puts it all back together, including though the facial movements a little bit, like the lips. Is
Yeah.
it also now matching? Because that's
Yeah.
the big part that's hard to watch that show on dub because the lips are
Yeah.
all over the place.
You've hit the crux of why we build Addavox. We're trying to eliminate bad subtitles and bad lip dubbing. We want to have video experiences where the individual watching it from their native perspective thinks it was filmed in their language. That's the goal. And so yeah, we do, but we also so we clone the voices of the original video and we get them to speak in the foreign language. And we do
Yeah.
that automatically inside of there. And so and when we're doing that, we're not trying to be, you know, Matthew McConaughey speaking with his English accent, speaking Chinese, We're
Yeah.
trying to make him sound like his vocal qualities, speaking Chinese like a native would speak Chinese. And
Mhm.
so his voice gets altered for each language to make sure it sounds proper in that language. Does that make sense? We're not speaking
Absolutely. Yeah. So
with a,
you allow people to sign up for free. I imagine there's kind of a B2C component of like if a contractor wanted to make like a good ad that they on Facebook that they can do it to a different country, they can run their original ad through your software. It pops out the French version or the Chinese version, which is fantastic, right? But what about at like the enterprise level? Do you work with big companies? I mean, you should call Netflix because sometimes the dubbing is so bad. I'm like, where is Addavox now? So what do you do at the enterprise level? Is there any of that kind of going on?
well, and we're working our way up to that enterprise level. And that's what we call Addavox Studio. We're talking future of BizTech now. So this is our
Yeah.
future a little bit. Once we have this application out there for things like this and podcasts and videos and corporate videos and training and education. And we do movies. I mean, I could show examples of actual movie stuff that we've done. But we're going to create a studio version that is off-site, not on our web app site, but they would download and have in their studio. Because when I experience having done movies, they want to have complete control over it, all their assets while they're there. They don't want it floating around back and forth in cloud, regardless of how good your security is. Uh,
Mhm.
they want to be able to manage it there locally. And then in that situation, a lot of times too, they're using professional voice artists, which our application allows too. But they play with it a little bit more than they would with what we're doing with just a
Yeah,
clunky.
it's that advanced version. I mean, you're right. Like, video production companies might say, "Hey, this is the that premiere style version where they can go in and do the really hard stuff," right?
Now we've talked
Um,
to Disney and several studios, and they want it. They just need us to build the studio version, and we're just getting this released in the basically customer and business market, B2B
when
market.
is that coming? Just out of curiosity, when do you plan on launching the studio version for like Hollywood and other places of similar?
I would like to have it released sometime next year, if I
Okay.
could. We're because there isn't a lot of difference between our desktop or our web-based version and then that desktop version. It's not hard to do that part of it. The thing that we have to do more of, and we need to have more video to do this with, and we have to have permission for that video because I won't use video without having permission for my training. A lot of AI companies they do it, but I've got to get to really higher levels of visual acuity on our pixels, 4K and above to be able to
Sure.
build the movie studios, and I need more video of that level to work with it. So we're working with entities to gather that video and train our models up to that standard.
Well, on behalf of streaming viewers all around the world, I think I can speak for all of us when I say, please hurry. So,
Yeah.
because I
Well,
don't, I
here's
mean,
yeah.
I really would rather, not have to read subtitles. Because like if I'm watching a subtitle show, I have to say, okay, that's a nighttime show. It can't be a background show. It can't be like while I'm doing stuff. I'm like, no, because I got to read that one. But with your technology, this actually might end up working itself out where I'm like, okay, and I don't have to just segment based on my attention span.
Yeah.
But what made you start the company? I mean, did you start off like in corporate, working for some video production company? You're like, oh, these are really bad, or a translation company? Because I know you said you had the Lingo original company, but was like, is that the beginning of the journey, or was there something before that? Like, what made you get exactly to this spot here?
So I started off as a young man. I was called on a mission and ended up being around a lot of Vietnamese people and learned their
Oh,
language.
yes,
So
I've heard of this.
I ended up
I
speaking
learned about this in
Vietnamese.
history class.
And then I actually went to work for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, supervising scripture translation around the world. Did that for 14 years in 85 languages. I worked in
Wow.
50 countries. And so I got fairly good at the document type translation. And I built translation technology when I built Lingotech for that purpose. But then I quit working there and started building these companies. But I've also felt like more things are moving towards video, like this podcast. Rather than just reading about it, people view it and they need to view it. And there's a portion of the world that just doesn't get to as much as we get, in English and vice versa. So there's all these things that are out there that we would love to see that would be very entertaining, but they're not for us because we can't enjoy it.
Sure.
So that's why we did this. I got to the point. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and I've been a translator, a linguist, a CEO. I've been project manager. I've been CTO, running the technology part of the companies. And right now, I'm an AI architect. I had to get into that because 5 years ago, when I started building these technologies, most of the technologies are existent now. They weren't existing then. I had to start inventing them to be able to do this. So, and that's kind of the path that I went on, and me and my partners. So,
I call it the James Cameron method, right? So I don't know if you ever see Avatar, the
oh,
original Avatar.
yes.
The story behind that, what a lot of people don't know, is that he had this whole idea and he's like, hey, give me $250 million to make this. And they're like, all right, great. And then so they're like, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. And they're like, we can't. And he's like, why? He said, that technology doesn't exist. He says, great, give me another $100 million and we're going to create the technology. So because he wasn't going to back off his idea, right? You know, he was like, absolutely not. He's like, we're just going to create the technology as we go, right? So, I mean, I always like the building the plane in the air kind of model, right? So I can appreciate that. Um, what do you what do you think makes it, I guess, what struggles do you have or have you had in the beginning? Like how old is the company? And like just like what were some of those roadblocks and speed bumps along the way here?
Well, we haven't actually raised any venture capital yet. We're looking to do that now that we've got the product out there and on the market. But in early on, we had to become resourceful building AI without any resources per se. And so initially it was kind of difficult. I had to, well, starting part of it is I knew software development, but I didn't know AI. So I had to go learn AI to start with and learn enough that I could do all these different things. And then I got people involved with me that helped me with it as well. But we just had to. It was tough initially because we didn't know if the AI I thought would actually work. It wasn't. Today, some of that AI is available, but not all of it that we have. We have stuff that people still don't have in our stuff. We have 12 different AI systems now inside of our single tool.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so
Yeah.
when that was a little bit of a mound to take on because I had to learn enough about each one of them to be able to
Yeah.
do enough to make it happen. So that was the hard part. But we wanted to prove it. I raised capital on my first one and then built technology. This time I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to prove that it could work and it had a market before I actually went out and raised the capital. And that's what I've done. So
Cool. Well, how competitive is the industry you're in right now? I mean, you're doing this. How many other people are doing it? Do you find, I mean, what's your plan, I guess, to break through and be the one that people think of first kind of thing?
yeah. So there are dozens of companies that do parts of what we did. Most people that build AI do one AI. You got 11 labs that does just cloning voices. You give it text and you pick the language and the voice, and it will clone that voice into that language and stuff. But they can do like 29 languages right now.
Yeah.
Uh, we do voice cloning, but we do it currently in 70 languages, but it's one of 12 different AIs that we have to work with. So most of our competitors are people that do one thing or another of all the pieces we do, but not in a single application. So, like this last weekend, I went and took a movie and started putting it into Vietnamese because I speak Vietnamese. And it took me about 4 hours to put it in, and it came out looking and sounding and lining up pretty good. That same process would have taken me weeks to do with and it wasn't the full movie, it was a movie trailer kind of thing, but at any rate I could do it so much faster. That same thing would have taken me weeks because I would have had to go grab this technology to do this technology to do that, and all this. So we're trying to be more like, and we're not there are guys out there, you load a video and you'll get a video back in the foreign language, but everything is AI. And you have no
Mm.
guarantee what it said was right. It won't actually match up. It may not be, there's a lot of errors that can get between transcription and translation and then voiceover and everything else. And then the lip sync on it too. Um, it's we have the human involved in it the whole time. You really need to know the language to use our tool. But we do everything a sound engineer would need for doing this. We have everything for a voice artist. We have everything for the transcriptionist, the translationist. One person that just speaks the language can take that video and put it in another language with all the tools there to make it work. So that's what we hope to be the different part of that. We're not
Nice.
having to do it piecemeal in a whole bunch of other applications. So
Totally understand. Okay. So what are you guys doing to kind of to get the word out there. I mean, a lot of the audience is tech. There's a lot of execs in here, and B2B tech marketing isn't easy, right? So what are you guys doing so that people even know about you in general? Like and others, podcasts. We know you're doing that. Okay, great. What
Yeah,
else?
yeah, podcast is a good start, and we're trying to get some. We'd like to get through to some people who are influencers in a lot of the video area and stuff, people who have an audience. So we'd like to be able to pay them to actually talk about what we're doing and go out there and put it to their audience and stuff and spread it around and work with them to take their channels or whatever they're doing and put it into more languages to expand their audience. So that's one of the channels. Also, since I've had a lot of industry experience in the translation industry, there's big companies like Namidzi. We list our technology with them, and they do marketing and advertising and stuff across tens of thousands. They have magazines and stuff like that too. But we're trying to do more. We give a lot away for free, right? The part we give away for free is a $5 billion a year market just to subtitle a video. And we're giving away free because we want to eliminate that in the future. If you want to read subtitles, come put your movie in here or video and put it out there and test the waters for that market to see if people have an audience. And then come back and say, what you'll pay for is the voiceover and the lip syncing. Then you could have them have an experience that is like what it was originally filmed. So we're giving away that part for free because we just want them to test it. Plus, we also give them a chance to try out our AI before they have to actually pay anything. So that
You
way,
put it right, you put it in their hands, right? And let them. It's its own sales technique, but it's also good because they get to decide, and you get the feedback obviously from them too, if that's what they're going to use. But yeah, that kind of freemium version kind of thing where they can try before they buy it like that. That's good.
yeah, that's a good part of it. But again, that doesn't get you anywhere. You have to have still good marketing. So on LinkedIn and all the different types of social media, we'll have guys pushing. We'll post a lot of things on the internet with but we're talking about how to do AI, how this works with localization. We have conferences that we're going to be attending and stuff. I've attended those in the past and been guest speakers on those and stuff. It's just a matter of getting the word out and letting it spread a little bit. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that giving it away enough that once we get the seeding in there, we'll actually get a little bit of traction. Because right now you can go and spend, roughly several $100s to $1,000 per video to do the subtitling in foreign languages, or you can come to our site and do all of that completely free. And
that's awesome.
and our AI is really, really good. We are so much better than most of those things that they have out there. People do our transcription, and it's hardly ever missing the thing.
Wow, that's
So
good to know. Okay. Well, where do you think the technology is going, right? I mean, in 3 to 5 years, I mean, everything's going so fast. Like, where do you think like a use case of what will be possible down the road in this arena of what you're doing?
yeah, I like that. And that relates to another product that we put out there called Addavox Meet. It's like this Zoom we're on right now. And it's got many of the same capabilities as Zoom and Google Meet. We currently offer that to the world for free, but we've done something that they haven't done yet, which they will do eventually. We now, if you don't speak the same language when you're in a meeting, we provide subtitles both ways for the people to do it automatically. And we're getting close to taking our 70 languages and cloning your voice and having you speak to each other in your native language. And yet the other person hears you in their native language.
So I've seen those like real-time translation audio things, and yours would be video. So I could be talking to someone and chiming. Man, that would be huge. That would change corporate business at like that Fortune 1000 level, big time. Because especially like with the American and Asian markets together, that's the biggest cultural and language break there is, right? I
Mhm.
mean, so you're basically saying, again, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I get on a Zoom call with the CEO of a Chinese company I want to work with, and I functionally, with maybe a slight delay, but mostly in real time, I can just talk to him and I hear him like he has, that he's speaking, English, even if I can want to keep his accent or whatever, my settings, I'm sure I can decide.
Actually, he won't have an accent. He'll talk to you like a native speaker of English. And when you talk to him, you will sound native Chinese to him in your voice.
I love that. At the same time, I'm like, hey, but if we ever meet, it's gonna be weird, right? Because like, wait, you don't sound like that. I'm like, oh wait, yes you do. It's just, but I guess the idea being that it builds more communication comfort in the moment, right? Because when people sound like you, look like it's easier to
Yeah.
to communicate in that sense.
The goal in cloning the voice and making a person speak the other language is the cross language communication. It's to improve the communication situation and to understand what is coming from the other side. We are not doing cloning to the type of thing like people do for deep fakes. We
Sure.
don't we don't actually allow our technology to be used for deep fakes. We're very protective there because our
Good.
contacts with the industry, if we were to support that, they would not want to use us at all, especially in the movies and stuff. People, so you can only use it to go to another language. And our cloning doesn't have to be as good as somebody that's trying to fool somebody to think that that's really that person talking. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So you can't use it to go speak something different in your same language. You can only take what's in one language and put it into another. So we control all that stuff, but we don't have to have the cloning quite as high of a level. Because we've actually learned that if I did get your voice too good, you would sound like you've got an accent speaking the other language. And so
sure.
we try to make sure that the reception of it is a native experience for you. And that's
How
the
far
same
out
with
is
lip.
that? How
Oh no,
far out is that, do you think? Like where I can like from today, when could I functionally be able to use Addavox? Where I could literally talk to someone in another country in real time and do just like we were talking about just now. Like how far out do you think that is?
that part without the lip syncing, the lips wouldn't match up and there would be a slight delay.
Yeah.
That part is only months away. We've already built all the AI for it. We already can do it.
And what about the lip syncing part where it just seems seamless?
So the nice thing, I can do that in the videos because they're already recorded and we're just now putting them
Yeah.
into language.
But real time would take a little longer. Yeah.
Live is going to take a little more because there's already a slight delay just to get the transcription or to go to voice, whatever we're trying to do on that type of options. It takes a little bit of a processing time, but we've got our latencies down to sub-second, so we can do it pretty quick. But you also have to have a complete enough thought to translate it
Mhm.
correctly. If
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand about language is that it's not word for word in the same order. If you were to translate word for word, my version of the sentence might be backwards or mixed in between. So I'd have to wait, like you said, for the complete thought for it to translate. So there will probably always be some sort of delay no matter what, because that's their language is expressing that idea in a different order or format
Yeah.
before it's translated to what I hear it as.
Yeah, and that can be actually handled in a video conference too. With
Yeah.
like you mentioned, quantum computing, that could give us a level of processing that would make that almost seamless on that. So
Yeah, that's
it will
quantum's where it
have a
gets
little
weird.
bit. So, but I think in the future, people will speak their own languages and everybody else will understand them, and that's what we're trying to get to. And videos, we can get the cost down so low that we talked to some studios and they said if you could take my movie and put it into another language with full lip sync for natural experience at say $25,000 for a 2 hour movie for one language, I would go back and redo all of my assets and go to lots of more markets that I have because that's an asset I
Yeah,
have that I can't use right now.
yeah, you'd get retroactive business essentially. They're just sitting on
Yeah,
libraries of this stuff,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I mean, and listen, that's it's not just for them. I'm a podcaster. Maybe one day I want Future of BizTech to be international, and not have to, I'm not going to learn 5 languages like you. That probably took a long time, right? But I can use your software, and then all of a sudden, Future of BizTech is in, China or France or wherever I went to Africa. Who knows, right? Like just
Yeah,
the sky's the limit. That's really, really cool. Well,
yeah.
then, so that's where we talked about then where the technology is going and those kind of timelines. What about you guys? So I mean, you're a younger company, right? Where do you want to see yourself in 12 months? Like, what does that success look like? If we come back on this podcast 12 months from now, what do you hope to be able to say of where you're at?
I would love 12 months from now to have the studio version available to go back and start doing those movies. But now the other thing too, even though they said 25,000, I could do it for so much cheaper than that.
Don't say that out loud.
I know, but I
Record it,
can.
man. Come on. What are you doing?
Right now,
Now they're
I'm
gonna pitch
doing
you 10,000. You're gonna have to take it because you ruined it. You
yeah.
could have had 25,000.
Like this little podcast here, say 30 minutes on that. I can
Yeah.
do that for, in a language right now. Just the voiceover is about $90. If you wanted it with the lip sync, it would be, about $250. So it's
Sure.
not 240. It's not that. it's not that costly, you know, and
Yeah,
so
because it's just the compute you're paying for after once you've made. That's the thing I love about tech and software. Like once you build it, yeah, you have some maintenance. Don't get me wrong, but really not a lot of overhead after that, right?
now
Storage and compute.
yeah, these movies will cost more when they get into higher resolution. When I start doing lip sync on a higher resolution, the number of pixels, the number of processing power I have to have on that is so much greater that, yeah, those are going to cost a few thousand, but they're not going to cost $25,000 to do a
Sure.
movie. I could probably do a 2 hour movie for 5,000 a language. And, you know, there's some countries out there like French, they don't tolerate somebody not speaking their language well. They will switch, you know, they won't even watch a movie if it isn't filmed, you know, natively in their
Yeah.
language for the most part. So,
Fair, I mean, fair enough,
and
right? I
so
mean,
there's so much audience out there that these and they make more money internationally than they do domestically, despite having that handicap. We're gonna
mhm,
our goal is to fix that. So 12 months now, I'd love to have studio ready. I want to have our Addavox meet where
mhm,
people could actually talk to each other with a slight delay, and they won't be lip synced up or anything because that'd add more delay, but enough
mhm.
where they could actually have meetings with people that don't speak the same language, and they could and our people could participate in them and understand what everybody's saying, you know, and join in on a meeting that they didn't necessarily have to know the language to start with. So
That's awesome. So let me ask you a quick question. Then you talked earlier about going after funding. Tell that because you never know who's listening, right? So what kind of VC fund, like what kind of relationship are you looking for? How much do you think you have to raise to get it to this future point that we're talking about? What can you tell me about that?
right now, we're looking at probably raising between 2 and 3 million because we're early stage on this. We've got the technology built, and we're now generating the audience. So we'd like to generate the audience a little more because anytime you have good traction, you can actually raise money. I've raised money multiple
Sure.
times. Uh,
Yeah. They
you
like
know,
to see that hockey stick curve. Like they like to see it right about here. They don't need to see it here because they know that their money will get it from here to here. But they want to see that little part right there, right? And then yeah, and the faster you get to that, the more they'll give you for less of your company, right?
right. Yeah. And so we don't need a lot to because we've already handled most technology. Most of this is going to go out to the marketing side. If we raise more, we just market faster. and
Sure.
and so we're doing pretty good. And I should say too, even though we didn't raise any money, we go after resources. So Nvidia, for instance, we went after them on their Inception program, and they gave us $25,000 to help us on our AWS account, where we actually got a lot done on that. Then we went to Google, and Google gave us over $300,000 in cloud credits that we've been using to build a lot of this technology.
Hey, a penny saved is a penny earned. It's the same at the end of that spreadsheet in in any kind of P&L, right? Like doesn't matter how you get to that net, it's an equal part of net. So yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Wasn't
That's
If it wasn't for Google and NVIDIA, we probably couldn't have built the AI because I wouldn't have had the money on the side to do the types of things that we
yeah.
need to get it done. So,
Well, it sounds like though you're on the right path here because for what I can absolutely see. I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area, right? You know, what I mean, I know VCs, I understand the culture, and when you're a Silicon Valley boy like me, originally, I'm in Denver now, but
yeah,
growing up, you can recognize the things that have a shot, right? And yours does because I mean, like you said, it's not just forward momentum, you actually have retroactive momentum. Like I said, there's just libraries of this stuff. So it's not even just about like the studios. I mean, when they're putting out streaming, now they can sit there and use your software and plow through 1,000 of their movies or shows and then re-release them out into other countries that weren't taken before, right?
yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. I love everything about that. That's cool. Um, what kind of advice would you give to I mean, you've been in this game a long time, right? You've had multiple companies and whatnot. So I feel like, what's the best piece of advice that you could give an executive or a CEO that's just kind of getting started on something? They got a good idea, but they want to make sure they don't step on every landmine in the field, right? What do you got?
Well,
What do you got? What do you got for them?
I'm going to say you're probably going to still step on a lot of those landmines. I have.
Step fast, run as fast as possible.
No, it doesn't always go the way you plan. So you got to be flexible. But I think the key is that work with your customers early on. Like I said, we've been talking to studios. We're not even building that application yet, but we're talking to them. If you can get feedback on whether what you're doing is even needed, it gives you a lot more impetus to get it done. And it's because you can build anything. And you can have a great idea, but if nobody wants it, it doesn't do you any good. So early on, so right now we have a potential customer that's looking at investing with us right now on that. We have another partner that's looking at investing. We have a couple of VC firms. All they want to see is that the customers are using it and their feedback. And then they looking at us and stuff too. So, but you can't build it in a you just can't have a great idea. You've got to be able to be willing to let your idea be morphed by your customers and have it work.
It can't exist in a vacuum, right? There's nowhere for it to go there. So yeah, the engagement is everything, like you said, which is why I think it's really smart that you're doing the free version because that kind of can help check a box. You get people just kicking the tires and prodding, going, "Oh, this is really interesting," and then you've got that engagement stats and say, "Listen, we're not charging them, but we could." Or we don't, and we can upsell them later. But look, they're using it. Like obviously, it's useful. It's gonna have a high stick rate, and that's one of the things that VCs really like to see.
Yeah. And I think because a lot of people are wanting to do AI ideas right now, I think there's a challenge with AI. Well, I'll tell you one thing. There's two parts of the market. There's the research part of the market where guys are creating the new algorithms and the new technologies and stuff like that. Those are great. They publish all their papers because they want to be written, and then a lot of them will create open source stuff. I just went and learned from all of them to figure out how to do a lot of stuff. I take their ideas and I just take it another level to do what I do. But I think, if we're going to do AI, you got to do applied AI. You got to solve an issue, and you don't really just solve it by replacing the humans. Mine still needs a human that speaks the language to do it right. When you're trying to go into another language or something, the linguist is not just trying to translate or trying to voice over it or trying to get those emotions in the next language. They're trying to recreate it anew in that language, and so they're really good writers. They're really good other things that make it better. AI can do good, but it's not as good as that human to be involved. So keep the human in the loop, I think, is a big.
Yeah.
So
I
let
always said AI will get you 80% of the way there. It's not that it can't get you 100%. There's plenty of things that I work with in AI that will go end to end, but I
yeah,
don't think it should. I'll stop it at 80%, and that last 20% is me bringing in the human factor and making it more personal, using that part of my brain that AI doesn't have yet. I will never take it off the table that they won't be able to think exactly like us at some point. But for now, giving it that personalization, that human touch, I think AI is just supposed to save time, right? I think anything it does, we obviously can do. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to train off of it. But it saves us a ton of time. So I think what you're doing is great. I think that again, I speak on behalf of all streaming consumers around the world and say, please hurry because there's a lot of great content out there. And specifically, I love this idea of real time translation in your own native like tongue, voice, and accent from people. I mean, talk about making the world small,
yeah.
right? And I think if nothing else, that's a fantastic goal to have.
Well, in that Addavox meet, we don't have a way to collect any money in there right now. We give everything away there free also. So you
Yeah.
like we're doing
Maybe
Zoom.
it could be like a small Zoom subscription style. Zoom card charges like $12 a month for the right for us to do this, right? I mean, eventually, as the technology gets better, a small subscription model is easy to plug in.
Once we get the voiceover and you're actually speaking to the other people in all of their languages, at that point, we're going to be charging $5 a month.
At that point, Zoom is going to buy you. Let's be very clear. If you think for a second that these companies like Google or Zoom or the other ones, if you think they are not going to make a very compelling offer to just take your feature and integrate it, then you're sadly mistaken. If you even get to the point where you start charging and trying to beat them, I'd be shocked because I think they will value very high very early once you've nailed that down. So I mean, hey, and that's not a bad goal
Well,
to
and I
have,
appreciate
right?
that idea. And I don't, that's an exit is what we're working towards. But at the same time, I'm trying to hit a market that is more the multilingual, where
Sure.
international business, government, whatever it is, education, they need a way to communicate. There are so many people that are in situations where they only get part of the communication. I want to fix that in this situation. So they could eventually add those things. They'd have to re-engineer their technology quite a bit differently to do it.
Mhm.
Because,
Yeah.
but I bet
But
they.
I love the dream though. I love the technology. I love the goal. I think you're well on your way there. Um, Tim, where can the audience find you specifically? Who knows? Maybe a VC out there is listening and they want to reach out. Where can they find you specifically, personally? How would they contact you? And then how does anyone find the company itself?
So the company is Addavox, ADDA. So that's and Vox is Latin for voice. So
Oh, yeah.
Addavox is the name, Addavox.com. And
It's a
then
VO, is it VOX or VOCKS?
VOX.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, it's a Latin version. So, but Addavox.com. And then you can also on LinkedIn is probably where I've got probably about 10,000 people I'm linked up with there and stuff right now.
Nice.
But LinkedIn, it's just Tim Hunt LinkedIn, so it's pretty easy to find me on that one. So
Perfect.
one of the early guys in LinkedIn since I've been around a
Oh
while.
yeah, are you a LinkedIn OG as they say, correct?
Yeah.
Where all the cool kids, bro.
One of the so mine is my URL for it's just Tim Hunt, LinkedIn.
I always say I'm so old that I just used my name for my Gmail. That's how old I am. I can just use my Gmail is just my name at Gmail. Like that's how old I am. I no numbers at the end. They're like, how'd you get that? I'm like, because I was there when it happened, bro. Day one. I
Well,
was I remember the pre-list, right? Like you remember you had to get on the wait list to even get the Gmail account. Remember that? Yeah.
yep, mine was my name too. So
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, listen, for everybody else listening out there, thank you so much again for listening to another episode of the Future of BizTech. And hey, if you like the episode, give it 5 stars. Even if you don't like me, it's fine. Tim's great. Give him 5 stars. That's all the same, right? Share it, comment, like it, all that fun stuff, because that is how tech nerds like us find pretty cool podcasts like this. Tim, thank you so much again for being on the show. And I look forward to watching your progress. It's really cool tech, man.
thank you, JC. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.